Welcome, everybody, to Mom Street USA. My name is Kate, aka the Disney Cicerone, and with me, as always, is the beautiful, wonderful Wishes Mama, aka Jackie. Tonight, we're going to talk about something that I think is on everybody's minds right now, which is, of course, the new Lightning Lane system that Disney has put in place, which mostly affects Walt Disney World. So Jackie has been very knowledgeable in the past about the Genie Plus system, and she continues to be so in this new system. So we thought that we would do an episode to catch you all up on all of the changes, all of the tips and tricks that we have so far into this new system, and make sure that you have all the information you need to plan the best vacation possible for your family. So Jackie, how are you doing tonight?
I'm here. It's been a lot over the last 2 days trying to gather the information and trial run it and test it out, but I have done as much as I possibly can do in the time allotted to give you guys the best information. So we're going to kind of go back to the basics for this. So some of this information may be repetitive for those of you who have done maybe a little bit of research on this. So that's kind of where we're going to start. And then we are going to get down into some of the details and give you some examples and things kind of as we go. So that's the goal for the episode today.
Yeah, that sounds great. Well, let's dive on in. So what are the new Lightning Lane passes and how do they work?
Okay, so the new system still functions the same way that the old system did. It functions like Genie Plus did. It functions like FastPass and FastPass Plus. It is the system that allows you to shorten the waits. So that the overall kind of use of the system has not changed. So the new system is replacing the previous Genie Plus system, and it is really kind of a mix between the previous two systems we've had. It's a mix between Genie Plus and FastPass Plus. And you'll kind of see that as we go along if you're someone that's familiar with both. So a couple terms that we'll be using in this episode that I really want to make sure everybody understands, because I feel like Disney is really good at naming things very similarly and confusing everybody. And that has not changed. Surprise!
That's just part of their brand, I think.
Yeah. So a couple new things. And I'm going to refrain from using the old terminology to the best of my ability so that we are very clear and we don't confuse anybody. I am going to mention it briefly here just to give you the comparison, but then we're going to switch completely over to the new terminology to the best of our
Start
ability.
Retraining our brains.
Yes. Right? Okay. So the new system is the official name is Lightning Lane Multi-Pass. And this system is replacing the Genie Plus Lightning Lane system. Still Lightning Lanes, that hasn't changed. So Lightning Lane Multi-Pass, or just Multi-Pass for short. Both of those are used interchangeably as people are discussing all of this. This is the pass that will get you on about 90% of the rides and attractions at the Disney parks in Walt Disney World. All Disney World here. We're not talking Disneyland, Disney World. This pass is the pass that you purchase to shorten the wait times, and the price will still vary day to day, park to park. So we'll get into price breakdowns here in a little bit and kind of talk about what it looks like and what it's been for the past couple of days. Mind you, we're only on day 2 of this system as we're recording this. So very, very new. Another term that you're going to need to know is the Lightning Lane Single Pass. This is replacing what was formerly known as the individual Lightning Lane. Still a Lightning Lane, but it is just now called a Single Pass Lightning Lane. This is the ride that will cost extra outside of your multi-pass rides. So this is those are those a la carte special fancy rides that you're going to have to pay extra for. There are 5 rides in this category, and again, we will talk about those a little bit later on, and the prices, again, will vary day to day for and ride to ride for those. So those are kind of your 2 overall big new terms that you need to kind of, like Kate mentioned, retrain your brain for.
So the multi-pass means many rides. Single pass means single ride. So
yeah, they should have just done that from the beginning, but
I know.
Honestly, these names are better.
Yeah.
They're still not great because they both say Lightning Lane, and I think that can still be misleading and
if you just kind
confusing.
of cut out the lightning lane part, but see now they've put all of that signage up everywhere in the park, so they're locked into it, and that's why we still have lightning lane attached to it.
Yes. So I prefer to just use multi-pass and single pass because I think that clears that up. But you just have to understand that they're both considered lightning lanes. They're just different categories of lightning lanes. So
right.
You just got to keep that in mind. And I will just also mention, and we'll touch on this just briefly, that a lot of people also lump virtual queues into this whole system as well, because virtual queue does serve as a pass for a ride. But it is not officially part of the Lightning Lane multi-pass or Lightning Lane single pass system. It is a completely separate system. Nothing at this moment with virtual queues has changed from what it has been for the previous weeks. So you've still got your virtual queue for Cosmic Rewind Guardians of the Galaxy at Epcot, and you've still got your virtual queues for Tron and Tiana's Bayou Adventure at Magic Kingdom. So none of that, as of this moment, has changed. So just want to get that out of the way.
Yeah, that's good. Alrighty, so let's move on to how does the multi-pass work? Let's get into the details.
An excellent question, Kate.
Thank you.
Okay, so the new multi-pass, multiple rides, 90% of the rides, that's the one we're talking about now, will allow you now to pre-select and pre-book 3 rides per park day. So the way that it will work is you will select your date, and then you will select which park you want to go to, and then you will select the attractions that you want after that. So it'll pull up a screen that looks like the one that Kate is showing you. Oh, I'm mirrored. Other side. The one that Kate is showing you for once you select your day, and then you'll go down and select your park from there. So resort guests, if you are on property at the Swan Reserve, the Dolphin, or Shades of Green. So those 4 plus any on property will give you the ability to pre-select 7 days from your check-in day. And I want to make that very clear. It's from your check-in day, not from your first park day. They may be the same day. They may not be the same day. It is from your check-in day. And you will be able to book for the entire length of your stay in one day up to 14 days. So if you've got like a
dining reservations.
Yes. So if you've got like a crazy long trip that's past 14 days, you're going to have to do it in separate transactions. But you can do up to 14 days from your check-in day if your trip allows that. If you are a non-resort guest, so you're staying in the Disney Springs area, off property, wherever it may be, at Universal or somewhere else that is not a Disney property or one of those ones that I listed, you will pre-select 3 days out from your first park day, because the only way that Disney can verify your attendance is by your park ticket. So whatever day your park ticket becomes valid on, whether you need a reservation or not, and I'm not going to go into that. We did a whole episode on that in our ticketing episode. So if you need information about that, go there. And then you will be able to book for the amount of days that are eligible on the ticket that is linked to your account. So if you've got a 4-day park hopper ticket that starts on August 1st, then 3 days before that, you'll be eligible to book for your 4 park days, as long as they are within that 14-day window.
Yes, that's clear as mud. It's great.
Like, pause there for all of our listeners to like make sure they're with me.
Mentally figure that out. Yes.
Right. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, your travel parties will be able to select your ride times before you check out and purchase the multi-pass. So you will be able to view your selections as a group, and you will be able to all book together. That being said, your pre-selected multi-pass attractions must be the same for each member of your travel party when you initially book.
Oh, that's interesting.
So everybody that you are booking for in your transaction will all be under the same rides when you initially book. So that is something to keep in mind as you're going through. And then basically they're modifying becomes a thing after that, but we'll get there in a minute. So you will book and pay for every day in like a single transaction. So you'll do single pass and multi-pass in the same transaction because you'll be eligible to do both. So again, every member of your party that you're booking for all has to be under the same ride if you're booking them all together for multi-pass. So let's say you've got a group of 5 and you're wanting to book for all 5 of you. You all have to book the same rides for your 3 pre-selected rides.
Right. You can't have like a teenager in your party booking Tower of Terror and then like the younger people in your party booking something else. That we all have to decide on the rides we want to go on, and we're all booking for those.
Yes. And all 3 of those rides have to be in the same park. So you can't book something at Hollywood Studios.
For 3 rides.
Yeah, you're stuck. You're stuck together. So you can't book something at Hollywood Studios and then a second ride at Magic Kingdom. The system doesn't work that way. So you will book for everybody in your party the same attractions at the same park when you do your pre-selection. On the day of your park visit then, so that's all before, right? That's either your 3 days or your 7 days out. On the day of your park visit, you will become eligible to book an additional multi-pass ride as soon as you redeem your first multi-pass ride. So you'll have 3 to start. As soon as you tap in to use one, you can book the next one. So you can hold 3 in your account at all times. And the top of your tip board will still tell you whether or not you're eligible to book another ride. So it'll either say, you can book after you redeem your next lightning lane, or it will say you're eligible to book now. So like either way, it'll still tell you. The whole top of that looks completely different.
So it doesn't have a time anymore.
There's no time anymore.
Ooh, interesting.
There's no 2-hour window. There's none of that. It's essentially just you use one, you can book another one. You use the next one, you can book another one.
That's a bummer.
So you can hold 3 at any given time.
But you can't stack. Stacking is the thing of RIP stacking.
Yeah. The only way that you can is the fact that you can still have 3 at a time. So in theory, you could modify and manipulate your times to be 3 stacked rides, but that's the max that you can have.
Yeah, that's not really stacking. It's like sad stacking.
Sad stacking. Yes. So the other thing to mention about when you're booking, rides will sell out. That it will happen. So you want to make sure that when you go to do your pre-booking, that you are on top of it, because they will become unavailable from the initial list that you have. So that is something to like majorly keep in mind, because you want to make sure that you have access to the rides that you want. Yes. So if you look at the screenshot that Kate is showing, you can see, well, Peter Pan is closed right now. So like that is obviously why that one says unavailable. But if you look where it says Tiana's Bayou Adventure, those are all the tier 1 rides for Magic Kingdom. You can see that on the day that I was looking, Tiana's Bayou Adventure was already sold out. And I'll tell you, that one is going to go fast, because like yesterday morning, within a half hour of the system opening, it sold out for the entire 7 days that people were eligible to book.
Oh man, that's rough.
So, yes.
Yes. Okay.
Now, I will say that your times, once you start the process, so click your rides quick and hit continue, because from there on, your times are held for 5 minutes. So you have a 5-minute, you'll see up at the top that says selection saved for 5 minutes. You have a 5-minute window to confirm and get your times. But so you want to select those rides fast, and then from there you can go back through and modify. The system will auto give you your return times. You don't pick them, it will automatically assign them, and then you can go in and modify them. So the screen that Kate is showing you right now shows you, it's very similar to what the previous system was for the individual rides, the extra rides. where you go in and select the hour, and then it'll populate the times that are available underneath. It will do that for all rides now. So something to keep in mind. So it'll automatically assign you whatever times the system does, right? It's just like a luck of the draw. And then you can go in and hit modify, which is what I've done on that screen right there. And it'll give you alternate times from there. So that way because you want to push those times as early as you possibly can.
Right.
At least your first one, right? Because even as long as you can get one, I would say within the first half hour of park open, which like goes against everything we've always said for like rope drop and everything. But with this system, you've got to get them in as soon as possible because you've got to use your first one to be able to get your second one. Because the later in the day, you will find that availability, it goes away for the most part with that. So a couple other notes just about this section. Again, all pre-selected multi-pass attractions are going to be the same for each member of your party. We talked about that. And then after you initially book in the modify, then you can go in and adjust things and change things and manipulate your plans from there. But the initial booking for your multi-pass is all the same rides for everybody. And then you can also modify your pre-selections on the day of if needed as well. So it's not like you're stuck with those. If something happens and you need to adjust plans, you can do that. But again, it's all subject to availability.
Based on availability, right?
Yes. So
it's not if nothing's available, then you are stuck.
Yes, exactly.
Or you don't go.
Right, exactly. And just a note about park hopping, because I know that this is a question that a lot of people had. Again, all your initial rides are in the same park, but as soon as you redeem one multi-pass ride, your next ride you book could be in a different park. So that would be technically like ride number 4 of your multi-pass could be in a different park. So if you look at the bottom of the screen that Kate's showing you, you can see you can toggle between the parks on there on that modify screen. So I can modify that ride to be in any park at that point in time once it's the day of and you've used your first ride. Now, I also do believe, and don't quote me on this because, again, we're on day 2, but I am almost certain that day of you could modify your pre-selections to be in a different park.
But a different park from each other?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
So you can take those initially booked rides. Let's say I booked them for Hollywood Studios, but I want to end up going to Magic Kingdom instead. Something changed. You can modify them. Now, again, availability is going to be terrible. You may not get the rides that you want, but it is an option. I believe that. I haven't tested that personally, so I can't speak to personal experience with that. But hearsay in my circle of people that I know who have used the system, that is something that you are able to do day of to your pre-selections.
Wait, do all 3 still have to go to the other park? Because how would that work? No, so you could have one that's in Hollywood Studios and one that's in Magic Kingdom and one that's in Animal Kingdom if you wanted.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Again, it may happen to people, right? Plans change. I do not suggest doing that. Like, I don't suggest on you banking on getting rides at a different park day of, because you've got to think you've had people that have booked 7 days out, people who have booked 3 days out, people who've booked further out, because if they have a longer trip, they get technically more than 7 days, right? Like if you've got a 10-day trip, day 10 of your trip, you're booking 7 days prior to your check-in day.
Yeah.
So that's like 17 days in advance. So
that's a lot. Yeah.
Yes. So I do not suggest doing that. One more thing that I will mention in this section before we jump to the next section is people had said, well, what if I go with the cheaper option, right? Because the parks vary day to day and park to park with how much they cost. Well, I could just buy it for Animal Kingdom because it's the cheapest and then end up going to Magic Kingdom. I wouldn't, because you're not going to get the rides that you want.
Yeah.
At that point, it's not worth it. You're just going to have to pay the extra $10 or $12 difference per person if you really want to go to Magic Kingdom.
Yeah. That's good. All right, Jacque. So how does single pass work?
Okay, so let's talk about single pass. This honestly is less confusing than the multi-pass. So hooray for that for a moment. So single pass gives you access to one ride that is not on the multi-pass system. So these are separate rides outside of the multi-pass. You will need to purchase an additional pass for these rides. So these are a separate purchase from your multi-pass. So single pass is an additional cost. Single pass can be purchased at the same time as your multi-pass, and it will follow the same process to book that we talked about earlier. You'll pick your day, you'll pick your park, you'll pick your ride, and then you will pick your time from there. Single pass allows you to gain access to these 5 rides. So in Magic Kingdom, it's Tron and Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. In Hollywood Studios, it's Rise of the Resistance. In Epcot, it is Cosmic Rewind. And then in Animal Kingdom, it is Flight of Passage. So those 5 rides are your single pass options. Now, with single pass, they do change per day the amount that you're going to pay for them. So that is something to keep in mind in the same way that it did for the multi-pass. You can book up to 2 single pass rides per day. So this is different than the multi-pass because you are able to cross-park book single passes. So
that's
if
nice.
You are park hopping, let's say you want to start at Hollywood Studios and you want to end at Epcot, you can book both Rise of the Resistance and, what did I say? Epcot Cosmic Rewind. I forgot what park I was hopping to. So you can book both of those at the time of your pre-selection at the same time in the same transaction. So, but it'll be the same process. You'll pick it. You'll pick the park. You'll pick the ride. You'll pick the time and go from there. A couple notes about single pass. Oh, the other thing that I do want to mention, sorry, let me go back for just a second. After you do that, it will ask you which park you're visiting first, which I thought was a really interesting thing that Disney went ahead and did. So it'll pull up a window that says, which park are you visiting first? And you can select either, in this case, Studios or Epcot. And then it'll prioritize like morning times or like afternoon times for like, because it, like I said, it auto assigns you those times. So it'll automatically do that, which is kind of nice. So I thought that was really interesting. So then with these single passes, it is one ride and done. Same as like with the multi-pass, you can't re-ride with the single passes. You can't book a second one for the same ride. All that kind of stuff is still the same. But a new feature, which was not something that we had with the old system, is you can modify your single pass times.
Oh, that's nice.
Yes. So previously in the old system, whatever you booked, you were stuck with when it came to these extra big ticket rides, right? But on the new system, you can modify. So that's
Seems
exciting.
like they've added a lot more of the ability to modify and to have more control over your day, so to speak, probably because they had so many problems with guests being like, I'm going to miss my dining reservation, or I was at my dining reservation, so now I'm late for this. And it's like because guests literally had no control over any of it.
Right.
So
yeah,
that's nice.
So that's kind of in a nutshell the single pass. Like I said, it's a lot easier to deal with than the multi-pass. But yeah, something to keep in mind. And really I do wish to an extent that they would open up that single pass availability or the eligibility to 3 per day, just because if you're at Magic Kingdom and you want to park hop, Magic Kingdom has 2 rides alone. So if you want to do Tron and Seven Dwarfs or park hopping, you automatically have to make a choice, and you can't do all 3 of those because some of those don't even have like a standby line, right? Tron doesn't have a standby line and Cosmic Rewind doesn't have a standby line. So it gets a little tricky with that. You have to really plan accordingly to utilize virtual queues, utilize multipass, standby, or your single pass to kind of figure out the best course of action for your trip.
Yeah. Okay.
Kate's
So
like,
that's-
sure.
Yes. So that's a single pass. So, all right, Jackie, let's talk about the multi-pass attraction tiers. So this is definitely a change from what we just had, but not a change from what we used to have with the fast pass system.
Yes. So the multi-pass puts the attractions into different tiers. So there's tier 1 and tier 2. So this is crucial for your pre-booking. So again, we talked about this pre-booking. We're going to hop back into it again. So Magic Kingdom, Hollywood Studios, and Epcot attractions are all broken down into those two different tiers. Not Animal Kingdom. We'll get there in a moment. But those three are all broken down into tiers. When you go to pre-book for those parks, then that is where it's truly important. It is not as important day of, because it starts to not be, it really doesn't matter anymore once you become eligible again. So what Kate is showing you there is when you go to do your multipass, you can see that it says on there, select up to one of your 3 from this group. So that's your tier 1 group. And then you'll be able to do 2 from the other tiers. I will mention that you don't have to book 1 in tier 1 if you are not like, there's a lot of more like thrill rides, I will say. Not all of them, obviously, but there are more.
The Jungle Cruise.
Right. Not the Jungle Cruise,
Really,
but you know.
some people.
So you don't have to. It's not a requirement that you book 1 in tier 1. You could book all 3 of your rides in tier 2 if you choose to. So just want to throw that in there for anybody who's wondering. One of the things that I am super frustrated about with this new system is they took all of the character meet and greets off of it.
Crazy. Did they take the shows off? I didn't even look.
No.
Weird.
Yeah. So
Okay.
Princess Fairy Tale Hall, not on there.
Oh,
The meet and
man.
greet with Mickey at Magic Kingdom, at Epcot, and at Animal Kingdom, not on there. Enchanted Tales with Belle, they're considering a meet and greet. It's not on there.
Oh, man.
I know.
That's a bummer.
Yeah. So
Especially because, like, those were nice kind of throwaway ones, too, when you kind of got done with everything else, that you can...
and it would
those.
help disperse, right?
Yeah.
Like, that decision from Disney, I really don't understand. Because one, those are ones that people booked. The Ariel meet and greet at Magic Kingdom was one of the hardest lightning lanes to modify in the previous system, because everybody wanted it and it sold out super fast. So like, I don't understand why Disney took those off of there. It makes no sense to me, because they've already been utilizing lightning lanes, so we know that they're equipped to do it. So I don't understand that part, and that's frustrating to me. Initially, I thought, well, maybe they're just not available for pre-selection, but nope, they are not available at all on multi-pass.
I have a little bit of insight here from Pure Pixie Dust. It says, so glad there's no more meet and greet lightning lanes. As a former attendant, it's much more kind to the performers and attendants, and it pushes folks to character dining. Character dining seems to be a good reason for people to want to do that.
Yeah,
It's a
that's true.
moneymaker.
That's true. And maybe
From
they
a Disney
weren't-
perspective, that
right,
makes
and maybe
sense.
they weren't selling out of their reservations for character dining. That could be. I just think it's frustrating because, so much of the magic of Disney is those characters, and so many of them were already really long lines to meet, and families couldn't swing it, right? If you've got little kids and the line to meet Mickey is an hour long, you're not going to meet Mickey.
Pure Pixie Dust says trying to hit hourly numbers with lightning lanes with characters was a nightmare. So I could see that just from an operational standpoint.
Right.
So maybe not great in terms of like what we see on our side as guest experience, because we're like, now we have to wait in these super long lines for this. But like overall, easier for performers, character attendants, and like the, you know, and also the guests too, because then they're not pushed out as fast. They get more time and things like that because they're not trying to meet a quota. So I could say that.
Yeah, I appreciate that perspective. Thank you so much for sharing. So that is one thing that is just a little frustrating about the tiers.
Yeah, I could see that.
But, you know, it is what it is. And I don't know, you know, maybe Disney will add them back in. Maybe they wanted to wait and see what happened with the whole system rollout. Who knows, right? We will never know. No one knows. They don't even know.
Nobody knows. Let's call this podcast. Nobody really knows, but we're just going with it. Roll with it.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's break down the tiers and let's talk about what makes sense to book when and where and how and all of that. So Magic Kingdom, this is a big one. Tier 1 for Magic Kingdom has Big Thunder Mountain, Jungle Cruise, Peter Pan, Space Mountain, and Tiana's Bayou Adventure. So those are the 5 that are in your Tier 1 options for Magic Kingdom. You get one of those with your pre-selection. Tier 2 is, and I'm going to list them because I feel like it's important, because there are things that were on
Jackie's a completionist. No, I'm just kidding.
Because there are things on there previously that were not on there before.
No, that's important.
That were on there before that are not on there now. Yeah. So Barnstormer, Buzz Lightyear, Dumbo, Haunted Mansion, Small World, Mad Tea Party, Magic Carpets, Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, Phil Her Magic, Laugh Floor, Pirates of the Caribbean, The Speedway, and Under the Sea.
Like, and none of those it's not surprising that they split it that way. If you go to the Magic Kingdom at all, you would know that the ones that are like hardest to ride and have the longest lines are Big Thunder, Jungle Cruise, Peter Pan, Space Mountain, and Tiana's. Like, that's always. So it makes sense they split it that way.
Yes. So my suggestion, based on what I've seen from the past 2 days, Tier 1 is really hard, first of all. And let's stop there. Full stop. You really need to think about what area you want to rope drop. And you really need a rope drop, because that is one of the only ways you're going to be able to get on all of these Tier 1 rides. If Tiana's Bayou Adventure is important to you, and in the future there's no virtual queue, that may be one to book for your Tier 1. I don't think long term that's going to be a hard one to get, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. So I would suggest either Jungle Cruise or Big Thunder, honestly, would be my 2 suggestions, because the other ones you're going to have to rope drop, either Peter Pan or Space Mountain. I would suggest rope dropping Peter Pan, booking a Jungle Cruise for your Tier 1, because Space Mountain, you're likely to find maybe a 30-minute wait, which is not terrible to wait for Space Mountain because it's inside in the AC. And then Big Thunder, you would be able to probably get about a 30-minute wait at some point throughout the day.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So that would be my suggestion for there. Tier 2 is really interesting because over the past 2 days, I have seen Pirates sell out. I have seen Haunted Mansion sell out. I have seen Barnstormer have like a 6 p.m. return time at 10 a.m.
Whoa.
Yeah. It's
that's
like different. The wild, wild west out here. So
that's crazy.
Yes. I would just really pick your top rides. Things like Pirates, I still think you're going to be able to find it at a low enough wait that you're not going to need a pass.
That's kind of when you look like if there's just nothing much else there.
Yes. I would definitely book Haunted Mansion if that's one of your rides that is like top of your list. Buzz Lightyear seems to be another really popular one with the new system as well. So those would be kind of probably my top 2. Yeah, I would put those kind of as my top 2 from what I've seen. But be warned that weird things are happening with tier 2 over there.
Strange things are happening. Yeah,
Yes.
it's weird. Yeah, who knows if it'll stay that way too,
Right.
because you can also think that they can manipulate at any time the buckets that are available for any particular ride. If they're just like, Disney Teacher Life just said Barnstormer sold out day one. Like, what was their wait like in the queue though? By like that time of night,
Right, were people getting it just to get it because it was available, and that's why.
There was nothing else.
Right. Well, and I think that was part of the conversation that I had with our good friend Kirk from Walrus Carp, who was kind of with me in this trial by fire that we did on day one yesterday, was that looking at the list, something like Pirates is a name that kind of jumps out at you, right? Oh, Pirates, I want to ride Pirates. I better get a multi-pass for Pirates because I want to ride Pirates. You don't need the multi-pass for Pirates.
Yeah. If you go at the right
previously, on the old system, it was like the 4th or 5th or 6th ride that someone would book. But under the new system, it's becoming number 2 or number 3. So it's just, you're seeing a shift.
That's interesting especially because the tier 1 sold out. They're just like, well, what else is left? Well, then it is a popular ride too. Right. So
yes, exactly. Okay, let's talk about Epcot. Okay. Tier 1, I'm telling you, this system is a challenge.
Yeah.
It's a major challenge. And I'll get more into my opinions and my findings later. I'm just still trying to give you basic info here.
Bring back the paper fast passes. I'm just saying.
Running across the park.
We'll just make it happen.
Yes. Okay, so Epcot, tier 1 at Epcot, you have Frozen Ever After, Remy's Ratatouille Adventure, and Soarin'. So those are your 3 rides for tier 1. Tier 2 is the Pixar Short Film Festival, Figment, Living with the Land, Mission Space, Seas with Nepo and Friends, Spaceship Earth, and Turtle Talk.
Okay, I have to make a little Disney history commentary here. Just let me say that the whole reason, you remember how the Disney parks used to have like ticket books, right? We'd have the e-ticket rides for like the best rides and stuff. Yeah. Okay, so the reason why the Disney parks went to this all-inclusive passport where all the rides are included was because of Epcot. Because they said all of the rides at Epcot are relatively the same amount of excitement. So we can't tier them like we can every other park. And so they said, well, why don't we just we're just going to start with an all-inclusive passport for Epcot. And why don't we just roll that out to the rest of our parks too? So 1982, that's when we start seeing all these all-inclusive passports, and we no longer have the ticket books, although they did print a whole bunch for them that they never ended up using. So it's interesting to me. I know that the rides have changed over time. We don't have Horizons anymore and all these things, and we've got Frozen Ever After and Soarin', and the rides have changed a little bit. But it's so interesting to me that it's kind of come full circle historically,
Right. Yeah.
Because now it's and now we have a tiered system again. We just kind of went round and round. I should really make some piece of content about this. This is actually interesting. Okay. Anyway.
Add that to your list. Anyway. Yes. So the strategy here is pick your favorite rides. Honestly,
what do you want to ride the most?
Figure out what you're going to rope drop. Figure out what your family's capable of. I will say with Epcot, even on day 1, amidst the chaos, I mean, Frozen and Remy sold out immediately. So did Mission Space. Spaceship Earth had late times. Figment had late time. It was weird. It was bizarre.
What?
Yeah. And Mission again.
Spaceship Earth is a walk on most of the time.
Well, and Mission Space is kind of in the same boat. Not to compare it to Pirates because it's not the same, but
no,
it's in the same boat as people see that name and they're like, oh, Mission Space, that is a fun ride that I want to do. I better get a multi-pass.
It's not a ride you want to do.
But you don't need one for it because it's at it's at like a 20-minute wait the majority
because
of the
most
time.
people don't want to go on it.
Right.
So just saying.
Yeah. So, but at Epcot yesterday, I was able to, and we'll talk about modifying and getting rides that are sold out and all of that later here in a bit. But I was able to get, we started at Hollywood Studios, and I was eventually able to get a Frozen time and a Remy time. It took significantly longer than the previous system, but I was able to get it. So it's not completely.
I'm going to say, but somebody who's on their vacation is not going to want to do what you do to get those.
Very true.
Okay? Because you are the queen of modifying and you just spend hours on your phone figuring it out. And nobody wants to do that while they're trying to have fun with their family. So odds are you're probably not going to be able to modify. Put that in your head and say, maybe surprise, you might be able to get it if you just try once or twice and it just happens to pop up.
Yeah. And it may be one of those things that, like, let's say you are taking a break in the afternoon and your family is swimming and you're sitting on the edge of the pool watching them swim doing it. That, you know, those kinds of situations maybe. But yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. So if you are headed to Epcot first, figure out Frozen or Remy, which one you're going to book and which one you're going to rope drop. I would book whichever one is most important to you, because that's more, it's still not a guarantee, right? Nothing's a guarantee when it comes to Disney rides, but it's more of a likelihood and a guarantee that you'll get to ride it versus rope dropping. Anything could happen at rope drop, right?
Yeah. And I learned that the hard way at Epcot the other day.
You did, yeah. So my suggestion would be, if it were my particular group, we would probably book Remy, rope drop Frozen, and then go straight to Soarin'.
I would do that, especially because everybody coming from the Skyliner tries to go to Remy first. And so rope dropping, because everybody goes there first, it gets so clogged up in the morning. And like when I went there was easily like a 2-hour line at rope drop for the resort guests.
Right.
And I was like, nope. And then of course Frozen was like not working. It was a whole chaos. But yeah, I would recommend booking it for Remy, because even at rope drop, that line can be really long depending on the day.
Right. The bad thing about the new system with Epcot is it automatically increased the amount of walking that you have to do at that park.
Yeah.
So,
and it's a really large park because it was
is.
supposed to be 2 parks and they pushed them together and then they made it happen.
Right. So that would be my suggestion. So I would book a Remy. For my tier 2, I would pick and choose whichever one you want, with the understanding that the majority of those rides don't need a multi-pass lightning lane. Occasionally Spaceship Earth might need it if it's the wrong timing, but then you can just come back later. Same with like Living with the Land. If Soarin's line gets backed up, Living with the Land will get backed up. Again, just come back later. So you really just kind of pick and choose when it comes to the tier 2 at Epcot.
All right. So Jackie, let's talk about Hollywood Studios. What tiers we got over there?
Okay. So for Hollywood Studios, tier 1 is Runaway Railway, Smuggler's Run, Rock and Roller Coaster, and Slinky Dog Dash. So those are your tier 1 options. Tier 2, we have Alien Swirling Saucers, the Beauty and the Beast show, the Disney Junior show, the Frozen Sing-Along show, Indiana Jones show, Muppet Vision 3D, Star Tours, Tower of Terror, and Toy Story Mania. So that is quite a vastly different list to choose from at Hollywood Studios.
Like one thing that has not changed, it's probably still Slinky Dog is your number one thing you're probably going to book, correct?
Yeah. I mean, Slinky Dog sold out immediately. Rock and Roller Coaster was very close to selling out immediately. Smuggler's Run was not terrible. Runaway Railway, I am predicting they possibly could even move that to a tier 2.
I feel like it has been moved before, right? Because it used to be individual lightning lane under the old system, and they moved it into what we would call the multi-pass now, right? Like they moved into the general. Right. So I feel like that one might shift at some point.
Yes. So we'll see. But yes, my suggestion would be book a Slinky Dog, because rope dropping Slinky Dog is a haul, and
in the sun.
Yeah.
if it's
Nope.
summer.
So that's what I would say. Something like Runaway Railway is not easy, is you're more likely to get a Runaway Railway as your fourth ride than any other tier one in any of the other parks that I've seen so far.
Yeah.
Again, that's just the way that it is. So you're just going to have to think about what's more important to you, right? Are you going to be someone that wants to rope drop something like Smuggler's Run because you have a big party that wants to all go together and you don't want to use single rider or that type of thing? Or are you going to go the rock and roller coaster route? So you just kind of have to pick and choose with that. Tier 2 for me is very easy, a Tower of Terror and Toy Story Mania for that one. I think out of all of those are your best times there, or your best rides there. So I
have
was
someone who's surprised that Tower of Terror is a tier 2, but it makes sense when you look at the big scheme of things, especially because of its capacity and also because it's not family friendly for everybody.
Right.
It's definitely something that small children are going to probably not choose to go on very often.
Right. Well, and you've got to think the reason that I think Runaway Railway is a tier 1 is because it doesn't have a height requirement.
Yeah.
Smuggler's Run has a height requirement. Rock and Roller Coaster has a height requirement, and Slinky Dog has a height requirement. So they're not going to put Tower of Terror there that also has a height requirement, because that's going to, like you said, it's not family friendly, right? Your littles are, it's going to be more complicated for people to make a selection then.
Right. It is true. Having Runaway Railway as a tier 1 makes it then an option for the whole family, for anybody who, even with the elderly, you got a lot more options with that one. That's true.
Yes. So the shows on this one, you really don't need. You really don't need.
You'll probably use them because you feel like you have purchased it. So go with whatever show you like.
And that's the thing. It's like, depending on your ride list, there's really only, you've got your 4 tier 1s. You've got Alien Swirling Saucers. You've got Star Tours, Tower of Terror, Toy Story Mania. So there are 8 really attractions that you could get on with that. 3 of them you've pre-booked. It was fairly easy to get another one within close proximity, but I think after those 4, even if you get them back to back to back to back to back, you're going to be looking at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock return times after that point.
Yeah.
So
maybe have a lunch.
Yeah. Go to some shows, have lunch, maybe take a break, come back.
Yes.
So it's just Hollywood Studios.
But the downside is, like, what I loved about the old system is that you could go and take a break, and on your break you could be stacking for when you get back into the park, and then just go ride. And now you can't do that anymore because you have to tap in, essentially, right?
Yeah. You would have to have, the way that I would do it in the new system is I would have all of my rides before noon. So like my top 3 rides that I chose before noon. And then the next 3 that I would be able to choose one at a time as I tap in would all be like 5 o'clock and after.
Yeah. You just have to try to get them stacked. Not really stacked.
Right.
What did I say?
Right.
I had a name for it.
I don't know. I don't remember. But because essentially, that'll get you, if you're able to do it, that would give you 6 rides of the 8 that you would be able to do. And then you've just got 2 more that you would have to figure out standby or rope drop or whatever it may be to kind of get those other ones done.
Sad stacking. Thank you, Grace. Yes. Sad stacking.
Yeah.
Well, and that isn't a horrible thing if you can get them as returns. That's the key. Because if they're not available, then you can't get them.
Right. Right. So Hollywood Studios, I mean, the major rides sold out, but even something like Alien Swirling Saucers on day 1, I think it sold out before noon.
Awesome.
So, it is what it is. It is what it is, right? So those 3 parks have tiers. Let's talk about Animal Kingdom, because Animal Kingdom is a completely different approach when it comes to that, because there are not 2 tiers at Animal Kingdom. Everything is all on one tier, besides your single pass ride, which is Flight of Passage, obviously. Everything is on one tier. So Dinosaur, Expedition Everest, the Feathered Friends and Flight Show, the Festival of the Lion King, Finding Nemo Musical, Tough to Be About, Cali River Rapids, Kilimanjaro Safari, and Navi River are all on one single tier. So when you pre-book, you get 3 of any of those rides.
I probably wouldn't get it for Animal Kingdom, personally.
I don't think I would either, but I also was someone that didn't think you needed it, the previous system, for Animal Kingdom either. So that is what it is. If you are going to utilize this, it's so hard, because like typically before we would say like, oh, just buy, use it as a park hopper and do deck and breeze through your deck stuff in the morning, and then you can book stuff in the other park in the afternoon. The new system is not that easy to do that with. If you're going to book, I mean, to save you the most time, I would do Navi River Journey, I would do the Safari, and I would do Everest.
Yep. Same.
Or Cali.
Cali.
Because Cali can get along
really, if it's hot. Mm-hmm. Yeah. If it's cool out and it's open,
right,
you probably won't need it.
Right.
But yeah, on those hot days, Cali, for sure.
Yeah. The musicals there, Lion King and Nemo, while they're wonderful, you don't need a lightning lane for them.
They'll just show up early enough to get into the show.
Same with the bird show, same with Tough to Be a Bug. You don't need lightning lanes for those ones. So again, worth it or not, you can decide. You can decide.
Right, Jackie. Virtual queues. Has anything changed with them?
No. Hooray! No, and again, these are not part of the lightning lane system. That hasn't changed. Nothing with virtual queues has changed. Right now, it's still Tron and Tiana's Bayou Adventure at Magic Kingdom and Cosmic Rewind at Epcot. So those are still free and available 7 a.m. day of. None of that has changed.
And all the things that we always say apply. Make sure you check your signal for your phone. Just do Google, go into Google, put speed test, and then it will check your internet speed. If it's really bad, make sure you turn Wi-Fi off or turn Wi-Fi on, depending on where you're at in your cell phone signal. Try it both ways. Walk around your room. Go out to your balcony. Sometimes the balconies have way better reception because the building's getting in the way. But your internet speed will be the number one thing. And the other one is make sure you have your party pre-selected before the time, and then a minute till, so 6:59 a.m. start hitting that refresh button over and over and over again as fast as possible. I've never not gotten it using that system. So get yourself a virtual queue. It's easy if you know what you're doing.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay. Whew, let's talk about modifying, because this is a lot. Okay. So
don't overwhelm them, Jackie.
I know.
It's great. You can do it. We believe in you. You might be able to do it. We still believe in you, but you might not be able to do it. And we still believe in you, even if you can't.
I believe in you. There was a lot of frustration in trying to figure out this new modifying system from me yesterday. So for those of you who don't know, when we're talking about modifying, that is if you have a time that you have booked, but you need to change the time, you are going to want to modify your experience. Modifying is much more difficult, unfortunately, with this than the previous system. The previous system screens were much more user-friendly and just easier to navigate. It's very clunky right now. I'll be interested to see if Disney does any adjusting of this, but it's several steps now instead of just like one refresh or one back and forth. Part of the reasoning is people can now hold 3 lightning lanes at a time, compared to most people were holding maybe 1 or 2, the average user, right? Not someone like me who's just crazy about all things lightning lane. The average user was holding 1 to 2 in the previous system. So finding times and modifying them is a very slow process. The other thing is that times are held for 5 minutes, even if you're modifying. So if you click in to modify, your 5-minute window starts.
It's just like my anxiety, like literally just clicked in the second you said that. I felt like I was on a time. I'm not being timed right now. You're not being timed right now. Nobody's being timed. For those of you who are triggered by that. Okay. All right. Moving on.
Okay. Yep. We're good. You got this. So because of that, times circulate the system at a much lower frequency and a much slower pace.
Right. Okay.
So
click is kind of out the door.
Yeah. No, there is no more. It is no more, unfortunately. From what I have found, and my best tip for all of you lovely Mom Street friends and listeners and viewers, is the first modify screen that you come to, you will want to do the pull down refresh screen.
This one?
So yes, thank you. Okay. So that screen is going to be your best bet, and you're going to look at that teeny tiny little time that says 12:20 on that current example that Kate is showing right now.
So it's inside the box that's under the green checked booked time.
Mm-hmm. So that is the time you're going to watch to change. And that is what you're going to do. Now, keep in mind that 9 times out of 10, or 9.5 times out of 10, as soon as you click on that box, that time is going to populate on that second screen that Kate was just showing you. I only had one time when I was trying to modify that it said, like, could not load your selection, I think is what it said.
Wait. So you pulled down?
I pull that screen down to refresh over and over and over and watch for that time to change. And as soon as that time changes, I click in that box, and that's going to automatically take you to that window.
Okay.
Like I said, only one time in the probably hundreds of times that I pulled down to refresh yesterday when I was modifying, did I get the, after I clicked in the box, did I get a, like, could not load your selection option because the time was already gone.
Okay.
So, because here's the thing, if you try to, what we formerly known as the click-clack, which was hopping back and forth between those screens, now there's a little pop-up. So if I hit back on that screen you were just showing me how the time's listed, it says, are you sure you want to go back? And you have to hit go back, and then it refreshes again.
Fun.
So it's like an extra step in between. And we attempted to see if that, because there's like a open close button for the window of the times to pop up and open and close. And we tried that. That doesn't refresh. So opening and closing that doesn't do anything.
Okay.
So
like been this box that has all the times in it?
Yes. If you hit the little like close, it becomes then a like open, you know what I mean? Like it goes back and forth, but that doesn't refresh your times.
Okay.
So keep that in mind.
But the nice part is that from what you're telling me is that because everything is so much slower overall as a system, it's not as likely to disappear before you get to that screen as it used to be.
Correct. From what I have found so far. Again, day 2.
Right.
So, and I have found some other little shortcuts around things because, for example, when you're modifying, let's say you are trying to get like a ride that is sold out or a ride at another park. Unfortunately, the way that Disney has it right now, and I really hope if one thing could change with the app in this new system, this is what I want. Unfortunately, when you pull down to refresh, the bottom part of the screen where you have all the park icons and then underneath it shows like all the extra rides that are available, it defaults back to Magic Kingdom every time.
It always does that. Every Disney app does that.
Every time. So I was super frustrated because I was trying to modify to get like Remy was sold out, Frozen was sold out. I was trying to modify to get those. And it was 3 more steps to get back to even checking if there was a time available.
Even though you're in Hollywood Studios.
Even though we were literally checked in, literally the ride that I had booked up there, it automatically defaults back to
That's frustrating.
Magic Kingdom. So
they fix that.
If you are someone who, like me, was really good at the click-clack, here's my suggestion to you. And don't let this scare anybody who's like overwhelmed, but I just want to share this tidbit of information from what I found. 2 things will help you. If you're trying to modify to a different park, use the old My Day selections that you used to use to like have them populate at the top of your tip board. If you know where I'm talking about with that, then you're my person that I'm talking to right now. If that made sense to you, keep listening. You're going to use that to select your ride you're trying to get, because that will populate it to the top of that park. Then, if you are trying to refresh, don't pull down. You're going to tap between a different park and the park you're looking at. So, for example, let's say I'm trying to get Remy and it's sold out. I'm going to go to the My Day. I'm going to select that as my priority ride for Epcot and hit save. I'm going to go back to the tip board. I'm going to hit modify whatever ride I'm trying to modify to get Remy, because I'm going to use a different ride, right, to try to modify this sold out ride. In the middle of that screen, instead of pulling down and then having to click into Epcot, I'm going to just tap between like Epcot and Hollywood Studios and reload it that way without pulling down. This is only for if you're cross park. Yeah. Cross park modifying. Again, I'm not trying to freak people out, but there are particular people that I know are listening to our podcast and are here with us in the live that want that tip. So that is what I have found is the fastest way to refresh your modification screen.
For cross parks.
For cross park modification, or if you're modifying for a sold out ride. Whew. I know. And again, this is my absolute biggest frustration is just the way that this modification process functions.
Yeah, and it's so interesting because like I feel like they made a lot of this so that you could have more control over your day. And yet with that being so kind of clunky and not intuitive, and also with the fact that everything kind of just sells out and then you really can't fix or move anything after you initially booked it, you don't have as much control as it appears you have, right? Suppose.
Right. And I think overall, this system is really good for the people who are like partial planners that only come to Disney maybe once a year or every other year that want to use the system to skip lines. It does not benefit APs. It does not benefit frequent visitors that know how to use the systems to their entirety.
Which is why, of course, in Disneyland, they have not touched this system because they can't, because like 80% of their people are like locals and annual pass holders, and they're not booking even 7 days out. They're not thinking that far ahead. So that's why they haven't changed in Disneyland, because it's a totally different demographic that they're dealing with. And that's also why Magic Key holders get a discount in Disneyland, because a lot of them don't use it.
So I'm hoping that modification gets changed and adjusted and maybe streamlined a little bit better. Even just taking away that extra little screen and letting the bottom not reset every time you refresh. Those two, they sound small. They may be coding nightmares in their app. I don't know. I'm not a tech person, but to me, those two small little changes would fix half of my frustrations with the new system.
And they might, we've seen them do that kind of stuff in the past. And it's interesting to me, like when they first brought out Genie Plus, in the app, it was the tip board was the thing that you would be on your home screen. It would say tip board, and nobody knew what tip board was. Like that language wasn't in our vocabulary.
And that's hidden now too. You can't get to the tip board from the 3-line hamburger menu as easily anymore.
No, and it's like I can just go to Lightning Lane passes is on there just on
But
the
you
home
can't,
screen.
you can't use that though, because that will take you to what you've booked and you can't change anything from there. That's literally like a view only page.
It's
So,
true.
yeah. And then,
Awesome.
so if you go down below those boxes on your hamburger menu and you go to today's plan or future plans, that's where you want to go.
Okay.
They did also add it, and I just found this out. They did also add it to the plus menu. So if you hit the plus on your bottom, it's the bottom option.
Okay. So this is the plus menu at the bottom.
Yeah. So the bottom now says
that might be
what
the fastest way.
View
my Genie
Day and tip board. That one.
Maybe my app hasn't updated yet.
I think that's what it says, because it's still technically, they're still using the name Genie for that, like where you set your priorities for the day, which I don't suggest you do, honestly.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter anymore, right? Like I was talking to my good friend Barbie, who she and I do a lot of helping a lot of people with Genie Plus. Well, formerly Genie Plus, now Lightning Lanes. And she was saying like, okay, we're going to set up their priorities. And I was like, you really don't need to. There's no reason to, because it doesn't, the list that it gives you for your pre-selections is not prioritized at all.
Yeah.
So the only benefit of that prioritization is during that really specific modifying situation that I just explained.
Right. Which most people probably aren't going to be doing.
Correct.
Unless you're becoming an expert in the system.
Right.
So that was a lot of information, but great information. And we hope that you're feeling encouraged and not discouraged and empowered with information. Jacque, do you have a few other things you want to just throw our way for some tips here as we wrap this up?
Yes. My ultimate tip every time I book anything with Disney is once you get that like booking complete screen, you got to screenshot it. You have to. I've already seen instances of things being booked and then just disappearing from the app. And it's like, what was that? Where'd it go? And then I couldn't find it again for a while. So screenshot everything. Make sure that you have that. Patience is key. The app is very clunky right now. Hopefully it will get better and they can make little behind the scenes back end tweaks to the app as we go. But patience is really everything when it comes to using the system, because it will go down. It will kick you out. I was looking at pre-bookings this morning and I had to restart the process 3 times because it just kept kicking me out and kept saying like, error could not load. And I was like, yep, okay, let's try again. And I forced closed and went back in and took a breath and tried again.
Some of that's just the system's new, and it's, people are all using it and all trying to figure out how to use it at the same time. And I think it will get better as the months go on, as things always do with Disney. Right. They figure things out, we figure things out, and it gets better over time.
Yes. So that is just something to keep in mind. Just to keep in mind. A couple other things that I will say that I've always kind of said for any version of this system, using Lightning Lanes for shows. Again, we talked about this, not worth it. It's just really
never been worth it.
You've really got to look at those park lists and tier 2 lists to see whether or not you think that that particular park is worth it for multi-pass. I mean, we've had the discussion about, is Epcot worth it? You really just have to look and see. There's a lot of shows at Animal Kingdom and at Hollywood Studios that are included on there. So you really just need to look at that list and see what makes sense to your particular group that you're traveling with and your budget.
Yeah. And, I always say with a lot of these things, we would say, oh, I probably wouldn't get it for that. But if for you, you have the budget and your time is more valuable than anything else, you might want to just consider getting it anyway. Like there has been times when I am really limited with the amount of time I have at Disney World and I have to get on some specific rides for content and whatnot. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm just going to get it for today because I need to, because my time is more valuable than choosing to stand and wait in these lines all day.
Right.
And so, it really, you have to weigh it for yourself personally. What is more important to you, time, money? But in terms of like, we've kind of given our recommendations for what we think is maybe most worth your money, in which parks we think it would be most valuable for you. But, it always comes down to you personally and your budget and your time.
So true. Could not have said it better myself. And the other thing just to note is that the process of like redeeming your Lightning Lane and tapping into the tap styles and all that is all the same. So once you're in the park, yes, the app is different and the functionality and the process on your phone is different. But in real life, in person, all of that is the same. They haven't changed where the lines are or how you go about doing that. So keep that in mind. The other thing that I will mention is for Disney World, it's always been that with this Lightning Lane system, whatever version of it, we're working under your photo passes included, and that is also the same. So you still get ride photos with your multi-pass. Let me say that again. You still get your ride photos with your multi-pass. So that is something that has not changed as well. So overall, big changes, some not changes, little changes. It's just kind of a little bit of everything.
Yeah. And it is different than Disneyland, where all your PhotoPass photos and your ride photos are included. Right. But that is not true in Walt Disney World. Just your ride photos. Yes. Not all the photos.
Right. Yeah. So I think before we go to our Ask the Moms, I think we will take some questions from our live audience here as we record this live on our TikTok feed. So that way we can get some of their questions and give you guys some more information about that for our podcast listeners as well.
Yes. The time that it opens is 7 a.m. Eastern time, correct?
Yes. Is 7 a.m. on your day. And I don't know if I said that, so I will say it now. And I apologize if I didn't say that earlier. 7 a.m. is when you become eligible to purchase on your day of eligibility. So that's 7 days out of check-in if you're a resort guest, 3 days out of your first park day if you're a non-resort guest. And that opens at 7 a.m. still.
7 a.m. Eastern time.
Yes.
So if you're in a different time zone, take note.
Yes.
Can you see the times available for your day before purchasing?
Yes.
So before you make a commitment, you can see what's available.
You will pick the date, the park, the ride, the time, and then you pay.
Okay.
Do you think you can modify and add more people, like different families, but touring together? You would want to link them all on your friends and family and then book it all together. The previous system would not let you book for more than, I want to say 12 in a transaction. I haven't tested to see if this new system is the same, but I would anticipate that being the same. So if you've got a bigger group than that, you're going to have to do 2 separate bookings for, like, everyone will still be able to book, but you're going to have to do 2 separate transactions because it won't let you book for parties bigger than that.
I heard the question differently, and that just might be in my brain, but like if you have to add people after you've already booked things, like somebody decided to come on your vacation with you, you pretty much, I think you're just toast unless
you would have to modify times to try to get them in the same window in that situation. Jay asked, so let's say I want to book Tron but also Cosmic. How does that work? So you can book 2 single pass Lightning Lanes per day. And that doesn't matter if they're in the same park. So that is the one exception. Again, that same park for pre-booking was only for multi-pass. And I know it gets confusing. Aubrey asked, so my trip is in August. Does that mean Tiana's will most likely be unavailable by then too? Okay, so here's my tip with something like Tiana's. We've talked about this before with dining reservations. And now these multi-pass rides are almost the same, where let's say you have 2 Magic Kingdom days, your later Magic Kingdom day, book that one first to get Tiana's.
Because there'll be less people able to access that day. Mm-hmm. So the later in your trip is the better time to book the harder things to get.
Yes.
True for dining, true for this as well.
Yes. So that's what I would suggest if you're trying to get it for multi-pass. Now, For the foreseeable future, we don't have an end date. Tiana's is also still on a virtual queue, which is a totally different system that is 7 a.m. morning of. You can join the virtual queue. So that would be your backup or your way to ride it twice. Or secondary to that would be do your priority park first. So like if your rides that everybody really wants to do very top of the list are at Magic Kingdom, book your Magic Kingdom day first.
Yeah.
And then work down. So two different approaches to it. Either work from the end of your trip backwards or start with your priority park first.
A question from Grace. Do they split availability for resort and non-resort guests, or do non-resort guests have a disadvantage? I'm pretty sure they have a disadvantage. Same with annual pass holders. They have a disadvantage. That's why they want you to stay on property.
Mm-hmm. Nicole asked, do you have to use your tier 1 before being able to book another tier 1? So I do not believe that that is the case. There were rumors floating around about that. I do not believe that that's the case. I think as soon as you use one lightning lane from your multi-pass, you're eligible to book another ride from any tier for your multi-pass. Robin asked, how does this affect DAS? Can you have the DAS and this too? Yes. If you are someone who is eligible for the disability pass through Disney, you can do both. So I was talking to somebody who had messaged me about this. And if you are someone who is eligible for DAS and is choosing to use the multi-pass, you could come to Disney with 6 rides booked for your day.
Yeah, that's
because
great.
DAS also allows you to do pre-selections. So you could utilize both if you choose to.
You booked a ride and rode it. Can you book that ride again for second ride? No. One ride on a ride per day. Mm-hmm. And we do virtual queue without multi-pass, or do we have to purchase both? Good question.
You can do just virtual queue.
Yeah.
Virtual queue is still free. Nothing has changed with virtual queue. You do not have to have the multi-pass or single pass or any of the lightning lanes to use your virtual queue.
Yeah. Which is really nice. And I hope they stick around as long as possible.
Yeah. Freddie asked, why are dates available up to 3 weeks? So that would be because you become eligible to book 7 days out from your check-in date, and then you can book for the remainder of your trip. So if people have a week-long or 2-week-long trip, sometimes often like our friends that come over from overseas, or people take longer extended vacations when they go down. So that's why you're seeing like a 3-week window kind of show on your My Disney Experience app. Because you can click through and like you can see prices, you can see how much things are going to cost on any given day ahead of time, because they have to set that ahead of time because you have the ability to book that far in advance. So that's why you're seeing that on the app.
Yeah. Do you think that more people booking lightning lanes for the rides that typically don't need the lightning lane will make the standby line longer?
And that's what I'm not sure. Maybe. I anticipate it maybe being a 5 to 10 minute difference, just because they're still going to prioritize those lightning lanes, right? And you may see an uptick in some of them. Overall, I personally don't think it's going to be enough of a difference that we're going to see for standby lines. Lizzie asked a good question. Sorry if you answer this, but do you know how it works for a park hopper? So if we're talking about multi-pass, for a park hopper, the previous system, you had to buy the park hopper option. That is no longer the case. Whatever park you start in, that is the price you pay. And you don't have to pay a special separate anything for hopper. It's automatically a park hopper.
Right. Which is nice.
Yeah.
I have a question from Vic. If I plan to park hop to Magic Kingdom from Animal Kingdom, I think is what that is, can I buy for Magic Kingdom and book later times and not use it in Animal Kingdom?
I believe so, but I haven't seen it done. I'll be completely honest with you, because again, we're only on day 2 here. But in theory, you would be able to just go to Animal Kingdom and ride whatever you wanted to ride and have your 3 pre-selections done for Magic Kingdom in the afternoon. That being said, the likelihood of you getting additional rides that you want outside of those 3 in the afternoon at Magic Kingdom is going to be low.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind.
Even Barnstormer is going to be gone.
So yes, keep that in mind that it may or may not be worth it to park hop and plan it that way. Tiffy asked, do you have to swipe in your first selection in order to book at another park? Yes, you have to tap in to redeem your first selection in order to book at another park after that. Or you can modify you can modify your pre-selections to another park if you choose to, but I don't suggest it because it's your availability is going to be very, very slim. We are APs and sometimes we don't decide till the day before. Did you pre-book? I mean, I would still go in and pre-book, even if it's the night before that you've decided. I would still go in and pre-book because that's going to give you more availability than if you waited until day of. So even if you do wait until day of, I should mention this because when we did it first day yesterday, when Kirk and I did it, we could not pre-book because it was the beginning of the system, right? 7 a.m. the switch flipped and it was available. But we were still able to book those 3 rides at the beginning. So even if you wait until morning of, you're still going to be able to get 3 before you go into the park.
Should I be concerned about getting Tiana's in multi-pass if I'm a non-resort guest?
Yes.
Especially if it booked for a week and an hour and a half. Yeah. Yes. Hopefully you're still going in a time when the virtual queue's still there because then you have a really good chance of being able to ride it with the virtual queue. But I would say that you might just be out of luck.
Yeah, and again, like we suggested, if you have 2 Magic Kingdom days, try to book it for your further out day first when you first get on your eligibility morning to try to help. Will it be harder booking for a party of 7? I think it's always been harder getting availability for larger groups, and I don't think that it's going to be any different. So,
yeah, I agree. Laura asks, will Disney be doing the free redemption lightning lane if, say, your Tiana's lightning lane is delayed due to closure?
So I don't have experience with that yet, but I don't see that system changing in my personal opinion, but I have not seen it happen. I have not been witness to what that looks like yet.
Yeah, like the multi-experience pass thing.
Right.
Will they still be? I don't know.
I would guess yes, but I don't know. I would anticipate possibly, well, and so here's the thing with those, they already kind of tiered those redemption passes, right? Because like certain ones were only eligible for like these rides. So like they already kind of tiered them out. So I don't see that changing.
Yeah.
With the new system. How would someone off property handle it? It's day by day, 3 days outright. So Court, if you are off property, you become eligible to book 3 days out from your first park day that your ticket becomes eligible. So when you go to buy your ticket for your trip, you're going to pick the day you want your ticket to start on, right? That day, 3 days before that day, you will be eligible to book, and you will be eligible to book for the length of the ticket that's on your account. So you'll be able to book if you've got a 5-day base ticket on that day that you picked for your ticket to start, you'll be eligible to book for 5 days. Okay, if my first ride is at 12 in a park, do you think a top ride will have availability later that day? If it does, it's going to be a lot later that day in my experience. So like if your first ride you're not tapping into is not until 12 o'clock, you're going to be looking at like 8, 9 o'clock return times for a lot of those big rides, if they're still available. Epcot tier 1s will be gone. Hollywood Studios, most of the tier 1s will be gone. Magic Kingdom, you may have more luck with something like that. It really just
it's just hard.
On the day. How busy
it's hard to say. Yeah.
Sierra said, I'm late. Sorry. Are we thinking with the new system we'll get less rides? I used to get 10 to 15 a day. 100% less rides. I would say if you're really good, I would say 7 to 8 rides a day. I would say the average user is going to get 5.
5. Yeah. I'd say 4 to 5 depending on the park and
depending on the park.
crowds.
Yes. Magic Kingdom, you're going to get a few more because they just have more to offer.
You're guaranteed 3. So, you know, you can just go into it thinking, I'm going to get 3 rides. Anything else is like bonus. That's how I would approach it from a financial standpoint if I was trying to decide if I wanted to buy it or not.
Yeah. And someone else asked, is the pass worth it? Maybe.
Depends on a lot of things.
Yeah. If you're only going to Epcot, should you get it, the multi-pass? My opinion currently is no. I really don't think you need it at Epcot. That being said, I will say that in the coming weeks, we may see a shift in standby waits from what we're used to because of the new system. It may or may not, right? So we may see something like Nemo, Figment, Living with the Land having more of a steady 30-minute wait instead of a 15. If that happens and you know that your party can't wait in a 30-minute line, then yes, I would get it.
Yeah, a lot of this is like we're basing it off of what the wait times have been versus what they are going to be / are now.
Right. We
just don't know.
We have no idea. The wait times over the last 2 days haven't seemed drastically different in the spot checks that I've kind of done throughout the day. But that could change next week. You never know.
Well, all of that was really super helpful. Thank you so much, Jacque, for researching all this information, for looking it all up, for putting it all together. Like, you have saved so many of us so much time and frustration just by putting this together. So thank you for all of your time. And I know it's not been easy for you. So thank you.
You are so welcome. It's my pleasure.
You're just amazing. And I'm so grateful for you. But before we wrap up here, we do have our final segment here for our podcast that we always do, which is a question that's unrelated to the rest of the podcast. And this is our Ask the Moms question. So this one I'm going to ask you today. I know you've been talking a lot, but I think this is a good one for you.
All right.
Can I use Disney gift cards to pay for my room and tickets? What about food and other purchases? And I know you do use Disney gift cards, so this one's for you.
Oh, yeah, this is a great question and one that we have touched on, I feel like, in previous episodes, but it's also a question that I get asked a lot. And the answer is mostly yes. For room and tickets, yes, you can use it for your package. Keep in mind that doing like multiple payments from multiple gift cards gets a little tricky because you have to like call in to make payments. So I would suggest if you're going to do that to combine all of your gift cards into one. And you can do that on I think it's just disneygiftcard.com or something along the lines of that, where you can go and enter in and combine them into one. And then also hold on to that physical gift card, because if something happens and you have to cancel or rebook or price changes and you need a refund, they're going to put it back on that payment method.
Right.
So
that's
make sure
important.
you hold on
to
to
a trash can.
Yes. Do not throw it away. Hold on to it. Stick it in the back of your wallet. Let it live there until you're home from your trip. And then as far as food and other purchases, yes, most food locations across Disney property will accept Disney gift cards. If it is a third party operated like restaurant, mostly I think are the ones that I'm thinking of. There are very few merch shops that don't take them, but
Epcot has a lot of restaurants that are third party operated.
And Disney Springs, those would be your two biggest ones that have like the majority of your third party ones. They may not always take them, so I would either try to do a quick Google search. This is a question that gets asked a lot, so the information should be available for you, or you can always like give them a call or take a look at their website or those types of things if you're making reservations. And then as far as merch goes, all of the Disney merch shops that are Disney owned will take it. There are very few that are third party that may or may not.
Usually they're things that are like not Disney branded stuff,
right?
You know, so just kind of think of it in that context.
Yeah,
but you can always ask in the shop too. Do you take gift cards before you shop? Right, easy.
Yes, so definitely ask if you're curious about that. Just a side note that it is fairly easy nowadays to find discounted Disney gift cards. So if you've got a red card through Target, you can get 5% off of Disney gift cards. Sam's Club and Costco will also run deals if you've got memberships, either of those places, where they'll give you anywhere from 4 to sometimes up to 10% off, depending on the deal and the day and all of that. So I always suggest you look for those if you're going to be stocking up on your Disney gift cards, especially if you're going to be trying to do it to pay for your resort or your tickets.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, so thank you so much for all of you who have sent in questions for our Ask the Mom segment. We love hearing from you. We love helping and answering your questions. And if you've got future questions for our Ask the Mom segment, please send them in to us. You can send them to us on any of our social media accounts. We are at Mom Street USA on all of the places. Or you can always send us an email, momstreetusa@gmail.com, and we will be more than happy to use that in a future episode.
Yeah. And so I think we're going to wrap up this episode now. We hope that this has been helpful for you. Just as a reminder, we are always here for any question that you have, not just for Ask the Moms, but just in general with your trip, especially if you need help with all of this multi-pass, single pass, you don't know what pass is happening. Jacque is your person. She does do consulting and help with that. So she's available to you if you just want to email momstreetusa@gmail.com. You can get in touch with her and she can help you navigate through this so that you have less of a headache. But we just really appreciate all of you guys being with us for Mom Street USA as always. And we hope that this was helpful for you. And I think, Jacque, do you have any final thoughts here as we wrap up?
Just breathe through it. It'll be okay. You can do it. Just have patience. And either way, like Kate said, I think, at the very beginning of our episode, your trip is still going to be magical. You're still going to have a good time. You're still going to get to ride some rides. So
yeah,
it'll be okay.
Yeah. This is just a small bump in the road. It is not the end of the road for your Disney vacation. So
true.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for being with us for this episode of Mom Street USA. We will see you next time for more tips to help you plan a magical and more enjoyable family vacation at Disney. We'll see you next time.
Bye.